We're recording kantian definitions on YouTube. Yeah! Imagine this. Alright, you're at the bar, you're at the club, and some girls come up to you and they're like, "Oh, I heard that you read Kant. Can you define a priori? My friends and I have been reading the critique and we're kind of confused. Can you define what an analytical judgment is?" And, this has happened to me, and it's always a bother because I'm like, sure, I'll explain it to you because, I have autism. But I'm getting sick of it, honestly. I'm getting sick of being in the club and these hot chicks, European models, smoking hot babes, coming up to me and asking me about Kantian definitions. Before I was single and it was fine, these bimbos would be asking me, and I would explain to them gladly what a priori means, what a posteriori means. But now I'm a taken man. I have a girlfriend, and so I really cannot be bothered to explain the definitions of Kant to these chicks in the club, to these chicks in Ibiza taking pills with Avicii or whatever. So I'm making this video so guys out there can have these definitions, have at least a cursory understanding of Kant's definitions in his terminology, so that when girls come up to you at the bar and they're like, what's synthetic a priori judgment, you can explain that. And believe me, chicks dig this kind of thing. They'll be impressed and they'll probably sleep with you. They'll probably sleep with you. Girls will sleep with you if you explain Kant to them. Okay. So, what are the definitions we got? What are we going over? We got 4 terms. 1, analytical. 2, synthetical. 3, a priori. And 4, a posteriori. A posteriori. So we got 4 terms. When we're talking about these definitions, these words are used to categorize what Kant calls judgments. Now, what are judgments? Judgments are just little claims like the sky is blue or pigs can fly. Just little claims, statements that can be verified, not verified, whatever. And so in a claim, in a judgment, you can have 2 parts: subject, predicate. Let's take the statement, the sky is blue. So the subject in that is the sky, and the predicate is blue. So we got the thing we're talking about, the sky, and the thing that's describing the subject, blue. So the sky, subject, is blue, predicate. Those are the kind of 2 main parts of a judgment. Okay, so judgments. You can classify them with these 4 words. First one is, so you can have analytical judgments. What does that mean? So let's take an example straight out of Kant. All bodies are extended. Analytic statement. So what is that? What does that mean? What's an analytical statement? Or an analytical judgment is one where the predicate is contained in the subject. So, for example, all bodies are extended. The definition of a body, something that's kind of just floating around in space, one of these things, like this is literally my body, but so is, the curtain or your phone or computer. Those are bodies in space. And so by definition, they are extended. So we analyze the concept of a body and we extract from it the predicate extended. So when we say all bodies are extended, subject, bodies, predicate, extended, we're analyzing the subject, taking out the predicate, and we're saying this is extended. Okay, so that's an analytical judgment. So let's say you're at the bar, you're talking to some cutie, and you're chopping it up, you're having a good time, she's laughing, she's vibing, you're explaining Kantian definitions left and right, analyzing and categorizing. It's all going great. And so you're feeling confident, you're feeling good about yourself, and you decide to make a little risque forward move. So you say, here's an analytical statement. I'm gonna enjoy your body in my bed tonight. And then boom, total vibe shift. She's clearly not feeling it anymore. It's something totally off. It's you're thinking, oh man, why'd I say that? That was way too forward, that's dumb. But then she says, clearly you don't know anything about Kant. See ya. She walks away. So you just made a massive blunder. When you said you're gonna enjoy her body in your bed tonight. There is nothing in the definition of her body being in your bed. It's not in there. Her body isn't by definition in your bed. And so what did you do there? What was she critiquing you on? What was her complaint? Because you, my friend, were making an... Okay, let's start with an example of a synthetic statement. All bodies are heavy. Okay, so let's look at this. Subject, all bodies. Predicate, are heavy. Now, is this analytic? Well, if we look at it, in the definition of body, we are just talking about things that are extended in space, nothing else. Nothing about its mass, weight, that kind of thing. So when you say all bodies are heavy, you're taking the subject and making a claim about it that is not directly contained in the concept of the subject. So when you say all bodies are heavy, you're taking the thing of bodies and you're adding something else to it, some other secret spice, and you're putting it in bodies and making this claim all bodies are heavy, right? So you are injecting some other concept into the subject to get the full judgment. So that's a synthetic judgment, one where the predicate is not contained within the subject. You're bringing it from somewhere else. You're bringing it from somewhere else. So when you say, your body is going to be in my bed tonight, you are making a synthetic judgment, and that's why that chick dumped you. That's why that chick was like, this guy's a fraud. That is clearly not an analytical judgment, right? So you got to watch out for that. It's important. Okay, let's keep it going. We got analytic, we got synthetic. Now, let's go over to... All right, so let's say you're going on a nice romantic date. And you've been married to your wife for 30 years. And so, you're there on your date with your wife of 30 years, and she is smoking hot. Okay? Your wife is a babe because you are a philosophy head. And so you're a little bit nervous, even though you've been on hundreds of dates, you're a little bit nervous. All right? And so when the waiter comes up and asks you your order, you say, me would like a pasta or I. And you're like, a posteriori? What? And then your wife's like, did you say a posteriori? Do you read Kant? And then you kind of have this moment, kind of like a Pina Colada song, where you both realize that you and your wife have been reading Kant secretly all along, and you have a new spark in your relationship. And so then you get into a conversation about what is the definition of a posteriori. I will tell you the definition of this word a posteriori, so that if you are on a date with your wife of 30 years and you need to explain the definition of a posteriori, you can do that. So a posteriori judgments are ones derived from experience. A posteriori basically just means from experience. So when you say something like, the sky is blue, that's not, it's not true by definition. It's not universally true. The sky is not always blue. The sky on Mars might be red, the sky at night is black. If it's sunset, the sky is more pink. I guess you could say the sky is blue. So that's a posteriori. Now, for the big one, the most important definition, left for last. A priori is the good stuff. That's the juicy kind of knowledge Kant's really going after. He loves him some a priori knowledge, because a priori knowledge is knowledge that is universal and necessary. Universal and necessary. So an a priori judgment, if it is to be true, must be true universally and necessarily. So we can actually go back to the definition or the example, all bodies are extended. Is it universally true? Yeah. Because for all bodies, we're talking about all the bodies, everything extended in space, all of them, phone, face, beer hat, all bodies are extended in space. It's universal. Now, is it necessarily true? Necessary just means that if it weren't true, there would be some kind of impossibility, some kind of contradiction. So if bodies weren't extended in space, then our kind of conscious experience of space would just kind of fall apart. We couldn't have this kind of experience if bodies weren't extended. So bodies being extended is necessarily true. So that means it's true a priori. Boom! So now we got all these 4 definitions. What are we gonna do with them? It's all kinds of fun to be had. Yeah, you can mix and match them. So you can have a priori analytic statements, like all bodies are extended. That's an a priori and analytic. You can kind of go into what that is. You can have an a priori synthetic statement. Whoa. Whoa. Could go hard. It could go hard. An a priori synthetic statement. It could go hard. All I'm saying. You can go out into the world, talk to your wife, talk to your girlfriend, talk to some girls at the bar, you know, impress them with your kantian knowledge. You know, and you can even make some jokes like, you know, earlier today, babe, I was delving into Kant, but now I'm gonna delve into that Kant. Pretty fire. Could go hard. But next time we're gonna get into synthetic a priori knowledge.
Synthetic a priori knowledge. It could go so hard. It could go hard.